Bum, 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 ba-dun, dun, 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 dun. Celtic balls.
Balls. Yeah.
Nice. And I pointed to you, and my hand was off screen because I'm used to my
I know.
camera
And
being
I was
merged
like, why is he
over.
pointing? And I was like, oh, wait.
Let me shift
I
this
do
over.
know.
All right. So my camera was just a little bit off. Sorry, people, if you're getting motion sick. That's better. Now when I look at you, I'm looking in the camera. Hey, everybody.
There we
Welcome
go.
back to another episode of the Kilted Balls podcast. It feels like forever. I've got my new whiskey with my engraved glasses here.
That is super awesome.
Yep. I was sitting there today. I showed some people what I got, and they're like, that's awesome. I was like, yep. And I'm like, and when I got home Saturday, now that my busy season's officially kind of over, I was like, yeah, I'm having whiskey, and I didn't. And so Sunday, I was like, I'm having whiskey, and I didn't. So Monday for sure. And then I'm like, no matter what today. And so I was eating my punchkis and drinking my coffee tonight. And I was like, oh, I got to
today's
record.
Punchki Day.
It is.
Gosh darn it.
We went to Quality Dairy on the way home. Amy was dropping off her car. And I'm like, where's the closest QD? She's like, we just passed one. I'm like, we're turning around.
Yep, the QD Punchkis rule.
Oh my gosh, I forgot how good they are because I am like so long haven't gone to them. Like seriously, probably 25 years. And so
Okay.
I'm like, I can't remember if these are any good. And we got a whole dozen, and oh my goodness, they're so good.
Yeah, they're not the same donut. I mean, they're good. It's rare to have a bad donut. I mean, they exist. Don't get me wrong. Especially like if you talk about day old and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the punchkis here are only okay that I've had in the past. I haven't found a good place.
Not a lot of Polish people in North Carolina, huh?
No,
Well, I had a bad donut once.
just once. Was it an old donut or was it fresh and bad?
So I went to Meijer and I bought punchkis one year, and I forget, I bought 2 or 3 boxes. They come in little 4-packs, and I was super excited. And I go home, and I think they cooked them in a grease fire.
It doesn't sound as good as maybe they could have been.
No, like first off, if you could imagine, they tasted awful. Second, they left black stains on my hands from the grease fire. Like I think they were done in a grease fire, and they were just like, good enough, and threw them in the box of Meijer. And I was so bitter. I'm so mad.
That's disappointing. But if you think, I mean, Meijer, their peanut donuts rule, and you can still get peanut donuts there.
Meijer doesn't make their punchkis. Like I swear they get them from somewhere else.
That seems weird. They make all their other donuts.
Punchkis
Maybe
have
they're
to be
already
made
busy enough
differently.
with their other. Yeah.
Punchkis aren't normal donuts, so
Yeah, that's true.
I think they were messed up, and they were messed up, and it was not good. It was not good. Did you see any pictures of me at States? There were some
I did
on
not.
Facebook. My hair was.
Was there?
My hair was pretty cool. My fit was pretty good.
Oh, I was on Facebook this weekend a little. Well, I guess I wasn't. I saw that your niece did awesome.
Yep, one of them did awesome. One of them not as quite as good. So,
Okay.
but yep,
Yes,
she
I
is
saw the one.
the first 4-time state champ girl since they added the division.
That's super awesome.
Yep, and she won 1-0 in the finals. So it's not like she was one of these 4-timers who had it easy.
Yeah, there were some 4-timers that had it easy.
Oh yeah, like the kid from Lowell who just became the 38th 4-timer. He teched a guy in the finals last year, which was my guy, and he teched the guy in the finals this year. Like normally by the time you're a 4-timer, you're like head and shoulders above everybody else. But the girl she was wrestling is, I think, ranked 4th or 5th in the country and has beaten her twice.
Okay.
So it wasn't like she's lost
that's
to the girl.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and okay, I saw this one. I didn't notice your braid. It was on my phone. I saw the post that your friend had posted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't notice the braid at all. That's super awesome. Yeah, you look real good there.
That's a good fit, right? Good fit.
That's super awesome.
Somebody today was like, you should wear that more often. I'm like, that is only for special occasions.
Yeah. Okay, and your dunks look pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So remember you're talking about it.
I almost put them behind me so that people could see them, and then I decided, nah.
No, that's great. That's super awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, good weekend. Good weekend.
Yeah, that's
So,
super awesome.
with like, I always find it interesting during this because during the losses, like when my kiddos lose, I'm like, I don't know if all of the good outweighs the emotional trauma from the losses. Like as in my role, like I think for the kiddos it's good. I think you grow from losses
Yep.
and you learn and you build character. But for me, like you go through way more losses than you go through wins,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody loses at some point.
Yeah, like you said, there's been 38 ever four-time state champs. So
You got it. So you're dealing with loss after loss after loss at that level. And you're watching kids break down, and there's just a lot of emotional trauma. And I'm like, man, this is, and I've thought it before. I'm like, this is not worth it. Like, this is a lot of pain that I'm having to absorb. And I'm having to
Yeah.
absorb all of their pain to get them ready for the next level. So I'm just like, man, like, I don't know
Yeah.
about this. But then I had a kid who won a state championship, and I was like, okay, maybe it is. That was a pretty good
like
feeling.
maybe it's worth it. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
having a
it-
kid. It's only worth it like right after you've had the kid, and then like, you know, like once you've had the kid, you're like, that was not worth it. Like the pain of childbirth, not worth it.
Yeah.
And then a couple years go by, and you're like, you know what? They're a cute little baby. Maybe it was worth it. Maybe we should try again. And then you're like, what am I doing? Well, more
Yeah.
like your wife is like, what am I doing?
Exactly. Well, I have that experience. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show. It was when I was coaching track, and like, I mean, I was the distance coach, so I wasn't his direct coach.
Right.
And this kid was a little bit of a head case, so he would get in his own head and like not win and do stuff like that. But he ran a shoot, I'm trying to remember now. 9.6. He was blazing fast in 100. I want to say he ran a 9.6.
Wow.
It was windy and all this other stuff, but it was. I think I bet you he still has the record there. But anyways, we're at states and he made it through to the finals, and he's like, "Oh, there's all these guys here. They're bigger than me." He wasn't a big guy, and he's from Fowlerville, so he was talking about some other things as well. And I'm like, you know, and I knew he kind of went into himself and he went off to the side. So I went over there and I was talking to him, and just like, you know, just doing that pep talk. And like, I'm like, nobody on that track who you're racing against has run as fast as you have this year. Like nobody, like, I don't care if it was windy, like nobody has gone from start to finish as fast as you have.
Right.
Not one of those guys. And he won. It was super, super cool. He like got it all together. And, you know, he won the state championship. So it was super cool. But I mean, you go through a lot more. You're with those kids a ton more. I can't even remember his name. I'm sure you can remember all your kids' names.
That's super funny. Yeah. Yeah, well, wrestling automatically is a closer sport in general, right? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
they're more of a family, so they're a little bit closer. So, so I had something I wanted to talk about today, and I'm interested in how your feed goes, and I'm interested in our listeners. And so I have a feeling this will be the main point of the show today.
Oh, awesome. Good.
The dichotomy on my social feed is mind-boggling to me.
Okay.
So, those listeners who've been around a while, because of my different roles, I am parts of both political parties. So I get information from both political parties. My socials have people from both political parties all the time. So I'm always getting everything. So that being said, the dichotomy's always been there, right? So when people talk about, oh, it's the extremists or this or that, like, I get that because I see that, right? So I know there's a middle ground. I also know that there's the MAGA Trumpers and the leftist crazies. Like, yeah, like I'm living that. So most of you are just in your echo box, right? I'm literally getting both sides from crazy to moderates all the time. But that being said, no matter if they're crazy or moderate, there's always some logic there, whether I agree with the logic or I don't agree with the logic, right? So to start with, there's always a dichotomy on my feed.
Yeah.
But I understand the dichotomy. Does that make sense? Yeah. My feed lately, like I'm like looking at it and I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, I don't understand the dichotomy. And part of it is because I've been so busy. I'm not up on the news cycle. I'm not in it. And so I'm probably using old knowledge. But I'm like, I don't understand the opposites right now. So let me give you an example. I saw a post 2 or 3 days ago after Trump met with Zelensky, right? And it was like, oh my gosh, Zelensky is such a fool. He should be ousted from power. He's such an idiot. You know, blah, 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 blah. Go America. Like right after that post, there was a person who posted and was like, this is what a great leader looks like. What an amazing leader. How amazing. How awesome is this guy? And I'm like, wait, like, okay, those seem really far apart, right? Like, I'm like, okay, that seems far apart. But I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're all crazy that way. You rip on Biden. You love Trump. You rip on Trump. You love Biden. Like, like I get that. So I'm like, okay, like I haven't watched the video. So I'm like, okay, maybe some people thought he looked like an idiot and some people thought he looked amazing. But then I'm seeing things where people are like, Ukraine's just doing this for our money. They're just trying to get our money. We need to pull out all of our troops. They suck. Ukraine sucks. They're just stealing all of our money. And then other people are like, Russia invaded Ukraine. They're defending themselves. We need to send them more money. And I'm like, whoa, like it can't be both, because both are like factually easy to reconcile things. And so I'm like, okay, like if you're one of my far right people on my feed, do you think it was okay that Russia invaded Ukraine? Yes or no? And you can also say, I don't believe we should be sending money to Ukraine. We have our own issues to deal with. People said that during the hurricane that hit North Carolina. They were like, we should be keeping our money here. I get that argument. But you can't pretend that Russia didn't invade Ukraine.
But that's so what had happened, I didn't hear it directly. I saw it on my feed that Trump said that it's Ukraine's fault that there's a war and they're messing with World War III or something. And then I also heard, and I saw it on TV. It was Gina happened to leave it on. I was walking through, and it said that Trump said, "Oh, I don't remember saying that." Like so it's just I think that.
But what I'm saying is not Trump. Like that, Trump is going to say what Trump says. Like.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say.
We've always established
likes to stir the pot and make some excitement.
And we have said that before. But that's not what I'm talking about.
But you're talking about, and
I'm talking about normal humans.
People believe that Ukraine started the war. It doesn't make any sense because in the timeline that I came through, Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yes.
Like that's the timeline that I came in on to right now.
Well, and I'm not saying they're wrong about the funding or anything like that. I'm not saying they're wrong about, hey, Ukraine.
We don't have any troops there. We don't have any troops there as far as.
But like if people are saying Ukraine should surrender because it's going to start World War III and it's better for them to surrender than World War III. That's what I'm saying. I get those point of views. I might not necessarily agree with you, but I understand what you are saying. What I don't understand is when you say it's Ukraine's fault that Russia invaded. Yeah. Just like on the other side. So I'm getting the opposite from the other side, right? Where people are like, listen, we need to get in there and we need to defend Ukraine and we need to knock Russia down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you weren't trying to knock Russia down when they were in Afghanistan. You weren't trying to knock Russia down. Like, you were mad about Crimea. Like, come on. Like,
so the reason Russia invaded Ukraine is because of not NATO, is because of NATO. Because they went into, like, they're creeping in on Russia. So Russia is feeling that they said, oh, don't come any further east, and they keep coming further east, and so Ukraine is right on their border. That's why Russia's upset, from my understanding.
No, that is rhetoric. That is changing the facts rhetoric.
Okay.
Right? So that's people right now who are trying to find reasons why Trump invaded. So, I mean, you could hear, and he's a big listener.
Russia invaded?
Yeah, you could.
No, I remember that from when it first started. They were talking about that.
Yeah, Jason is the only person I've ever heard talk about that. I have heard other people talk about it since Jason talked about it. When Russia first invaded, the premise that Russia invaded under was those were Russian people.
Okay.
So that there are parts of Ukraine that when the Soviet Union dissolved, right, and the borders were made with Ukraine, there are pockets of people there that were maybe considered more Russian than not Russian. Just like on, say, Michigan's southern border, there's people who consider themselves Ohio, not Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. So there's people there in communities, and they feel they have more in common with Russia than they do with Ukraine. And Russia was saying, we're liberating these people, right?
Okay.
In reality, that was bullshit.
Yeah.
So as we've talked about before, Ukraine controlled the ports, and Russia needed those ports to cut off the gas supplies to pretty much everybody else, right?
Yeah.
It was a pure power move to gain control of the ports. The places they invaded do not have Russians in them. There were places that they did, but that was just like happened to be on the way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And for sure they don't want NATO because NATO has to resist that aggression if they're in NATO. So that's like saying, listen, we're invading you because otherwise you're going to call the police on us. So if you agree not to call the police on us when we invade you, we will still invade. Wait, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it literally doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny that you're talking about this because this came up for me as well, and the fact that, like, Elon Musk is so hated now by the left. So, when we first started this podcast, the left loved Elon. And if you had a Tesla, you were a granola, and you were super left.
Yes.
And I don't love that he tied his wagon to Trump. He's got a ton more power to him. That's cool. And the Doge thing, like, I'm seeing both sides of it. Of like, oh, they're making up numbers. They're really not fixing things. To they're fixing stuff. They're figuring things out. Like money that's like. That doesn't nobody knows where it's going is just disappearing. Like, that's not okay, which I agree with.
If the people saying it's true. I have not heard a single person ever with any credibility saying those things. I'm not arguing that's not true.
That money was earmarked, that not marked to go anywhere, and it just disappeared.
Yeah. Who told you that? That's my thing. To everybody who's listening, when you have heard those things said, who said those things?
Yeah. Well, personally, I do believe that there's definitely dark money that's not involved in the budget or anything like that.
For sure.
But anyway, so Elon was on Joe Rogan, and I catch Joe Rogan's stuff when there's somebody who I like on there. I enjoy Joe.
Sure.
Even though I'm not necessarily his target audience, but I've enjoyed him for many years, and I still listen to him. So Elon was on there, so I'm listening, and he was talking about everything. But but yeah, it was just interesting to hear like some of the things that he was saying and comparing it to some of the things that I'm seeing on Facebook or on X, that sort of stuff. Like he was making the joke. He's like, so now he's like, I can point here and I can point here, but what, the rocket ship is there. I'm not allowed to point at the rocket ship because they were talking about that speech where he pointed up in the air and all of a sudden he's Nazi.
Right.
Which was it was very funny, like hearing him talk about it. I didn't see the speech; I've seen the stills, but yeah, it's wild how, like you're talking about, both sides are the extreme is what you hear, and the extremes are the loudest, and they're the ones, and they both sides make up BS about all sorts of things. And just like you were saying, so it was interesting to listen to him, and then like some of the things I've been seeing, like, oh, I wonder if this is true. I wonder if that's true. But one thing he said that I think it's Doge.gov, they have the list of all the things like that they're canceling and what it's supposed to be paid for, or if it wasn't marked for anything. So he's like, we're human. We can make mistakes. If there's a mistake on there, like, please tell us. We'll look into it and tell us your findings, like why you don't think that that's what it should be. But, because they're saying, like, he's canceling things and starving people are dying now and stuff. He's like, no, we're not doing any of that. But it's interesting that they made a website and they have all their stuff listed on there. So it's all in black and white.
Well, they made the website and they put the stuff there. Nobody, at least I don't know, I probably shouldn't say this.
I have no idea.
Nobody's fact-checking any of that. So if he tells you, hey, we found all of this money from the Department of Ed, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all that money he found in the Department of Ed.
Yeah.
I could make a webpage and say, I found all this money in the Department of Ed. You don't freaking know.
And I haven't looked at the webpage to see how it's listed or anything like that, if there's a way to fact-check it. But it was
that's what's making people grumpy. In my understanding with him, he's bringing in a group of people that nobody has vetted, apparently, but him.
He did say you have to have the same clearance as anyone that works in that area. You have to jump through those hoops.
They said they didn't.
That's what he said.
Right. But others
today
said they didn't.
That's what he said, that they had to have security clearances to see the things that they need to see. But
of course, are they able to get it just by Trump saying, "Oh, you have security clearance"?
That's true. That's true. Like, oh, all these guys have clearance.
Yep, they all have clearance now. Have fun. Who are these guys?
Just like he had clearance to keep all the stuff.
Yeah, to keep all the stuff in his place.
This is my stuff. This is my top secret stuff. I can keep it in the
bathroom. I think there's always spending that is wrong. I am totally agreeing.
I agree.
I agree with all of that. What I am not agreeing with is we have gotten rid of the checks and balances. Right? Nobody is checking Elon's stuff. People are trying to check Elon's stuff. They can't check Elon's stuff. Like, that's a really hard task. And so he is the one saying it. And at the same time, it's on the surface it looks to benefit him. But I'm with you. Like,
let's not get anything wrong. He's getting paid millions and millions of dollars every day from the guy. I don't know the exact amount, but I want to. It's more than $1 million a day in subsidies from the U.S. government.
His businesses.
His businesses.
Yes. No. Yeah. It's fantastic. And I'm not. Like I said, I'm very much more of a moderate type person, and so I understand a lot of these things, right? Like, when Trump is over there doing this with Ukraine, he's made the European Union stand up and say, okay, we need a military. We need to be NATO, right? We need to be the group.
Yeah.
Where before it was, we're all the group, but America, can you supply everything to us? Right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Which I agree with that. I don't think that we should be the police of everybody.
Yeah,
and send
I think
troops over there.
If we are the police of everybody, then you shouldn't be the one dictating. We should be the ones dictating. I have no problem with us being the police. I think with as big of our military as it is, with how, like, I think honestly we should be the police, but we, the people, should dictate how the police are operating, not France,
Yeah.
not Germany. Like, we should decide, like, if we're like, you know what, we don't like what's going on in Somalia, we should be able to say we don't like what's going on in Somalia and police that. And if we want to love Russia, which apparently a whole bunch of people on my feed have turned to loving Russia, which I never thought I'd see the day, because some of them used to hate Russia. So I'm like super confused with those people.
But those are the people that when people tell you who to hate and who to love, that they listen.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of people out there like that.
And some of them like are Catholics, right? Like I am. And I have seen them get like super upset. Like if the church told them to be grumpy about something, they were grumpy. And until the church told them not to be grumpy, that did not work. Like they went on huge rants when the church told them.
When they tell you to be grumpy, it's okay. But if they say don't be grumpy about this, they say no. That's what you're saying?
For example, like the church comes out and says, gay people shouldn't get married. It's a holy sacrament. It's very specific. They shouldn't be allowed to get married, right? They're like, yeah, no gay marriage. You've got to accept the sanctity of marriage. Don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And the church is like, hey, just so we're clear, they shouldn't have the sacrament of marriage. They should still be treated with love, respect. There are honored brothers or honored sisters. You should be inviting them into your homes. You should be loving them. They are still like amazing human beings. But in the Catholic Church, marriage is very specific. So that doesn't qualify. They're like, whoa, no. They should be stoned. Yeah. They should be killed. It's like, whoa.
That's hilarious.
Well, immigration is that way, right? Like, so many of the Christians or Catholics on my feed are like, we need to be tough on immigration. We need to keep them out. Blah, 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 blah. Which I totally understand you. The Catholic Church believes they supersede all nations. We aren't against immigration. Most of Catholics are immigrants. Even now, they're flooding in. The reason that America has not turned atheist is because we keep pulling in Catholic and Christian immigrants. Legally and illegally. That's why the numbers haven't tanked.
That could be true.
So weird. But yeah, they'll be like, no immigrants. I actually had a priest stand up recently, I think it was this summer, and was like, hey, you need to remember, we love immigrants here. That's not a thing. We don't hate them.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah, that's great.
But the people on my feed, they seriously are, and I say this with much sadness, they're actually Christians who are anti-Christians. Right? Like they preach it, but they preach it with the view of hate. And that's not Christianity, right? Christianity is all about love and is preached from a place of love. So every time you're thinking religion and you're getting mad at other people, you are, and I say this with 100% positive certainty, you are in the wrong. The church is never that way. That's not how it is, right? So anytime you're like, oh my gosh, I hate those people. Even something crazy. Even something like, I hate these baby killers who are having abortion. I hate these mass murderers. That is not what the church believes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Mother Teresa went and prayed with those people. She went to the prisons. The Bible says, go visit the people in prison. Pray with them. Help them. Right? Bring them peace. You don't hate them. Hate is literally the opposite.
Yeah.
Literally
anything that book says.
Anything it says. Anything it says. So every time
I take that back. Anything the New Testament says, the Old Testament gets a little dark there.
Right, but Christians believe that the New Testament is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's my feed. My social feed is this weird dichotomy, and I'm just like...
It's so strange.
I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, and again, people, both sides, it's easy to pick on Trump. That's like super easy. They do dumb stuff. But the other side is saying dumb stuff too, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's the problem.
You don't sit there and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe Elon Musk shut off all of this money that he found. That's not the issue. The issue is he should not have been given the power to do that. As an immigrant that you're saying you hate over our government, that doesn't make any sense. Him finding the money, that means we need to do a really good audit. Like that's what
that's what what? It's been 7 years since the government's passed its own audits.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous. He's saying like when he went into Twitter, like Twitter was at least breaking even. He knew it was going to be messed up. He's like, but going into this, he's like, I knew it was going to be messed up because they have, we're hemorrhaging money as a country. And he's like, but it's so, like, there's so much chaos everywhere.
Yes.
And even like, they were talking about like, some of these new people going into their roles. Like, I don't know who is the head of the FBI, but whoever the new head of the FBI is. And they're saying everyone in that office is left, and this person is all part of the problem, and he's trying to figure out how to put the people who made the problem in jail, and it's all the people in the office, and no one's telling them anything, and this and that. But that was an extreme. He was using it as an extreme example, but
right.
It's true. Like,
but the guy who was put in charge has like no idea what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, he can check checks and balances, I guess, but I don't know. I don't even know, like, where do you go to see that stuff? Is there? I've heard it's old computers and things like that, but like some of the things, and I've heard like they claimed it was like billions of dollars that they saved, but they made this that was supposed to be a 1 year thing, and they added extra years onto it to make it $1 billion, where it was only supposed to be.
It was like a 10-year thing, and they were like, $1 billion over 10 years.
Well, no, not even that, but it was something that was only supposed to last a year, and then they made it into 4 or 5 years or whatever. But even that, I don't know. I didn't fact check any of that stuff. That's just stuff I've heard.
Again, nobody's fact checking anything. If Elon says it, you disappeared. Oops. If Elon says it, people are either believing it or hating it. If Trump says it, they're believing it or they're hating it. There's no real fact-checking going on, except for the really, really obvious stuff. And even that, people are kind of like sketch on. But all of this stuff, like you brought up the FBI. Like, there's so many issues. Right? Like, when you put somebody in charge of a thing who literally has no experience in the thing, that's weird. That's weird no matter whether you're in government or in business or whatever. And so you're like, oh yeah, they're here to root out the secrets. Really? In what job that they had in their life was that their job was to root out secrets? Why didn't you go get an investigator who roots and make them the head? You picked somebody who was a friend. You didn't pick anybody. You literally did what you are mad about with DEI. You picked somebody not based on their qualifications, but based on their relationships with you. Which is just weird. Which goes back to one of the things you're saying about Elon, and my wife and I talked about this with like Trump and Elon. They're doing all of this, right? The government's hemorrhaging money, and they're like... They're treating it like a business. And people are like, look at this. They're treating it like a business. It's about time. This may be a surprise. It's not a fucking business. Right? This isn't.
Well, that was what Ross Perot was trying to do.
Yes.
Treat it like a business.
I've had people come to the schools, right? So we all know I'm like really big in the schools. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, you guys are messing this up. You need to treat it like a business. We're not a business. Yeah, but you're hemorrhaging money. Yes, because that's our job. Our job is to help all of these humans. And that requires lots of money to help all of these humans. That's literally what you are paying for. We are feeding all of these humans. That's what we're doing. We're helping them.
We're not here to make money.
We are not. I tell people that all the time. My job is not to make money. The school's job is not to be a bank account or a savings account. We are here to take that money and spend that money making the world and your community a better place. That's the gig. So you can't run that like a business and be like, we need to make more money. We're hemorrhaging money. We're supposed to hemorrhage money. We're supposed to be spending it as fast as we get it. We're not saving the school for retirement. Like, that's not a thing. Whereas if you're a business, you're trying to make the man in charge as much money as you possibly can. Right? Elon Musk did not buy Twitter because he thought he was going to go poor. Like he
did say it was a shock, though, that he's a Nazi now. He's really surprised. He's like, I did not see that one coming.
Well, he's dumb. I saw it coming probably 5 years ago.
Yeah?
Because he's from South Africa.
He is.
I mean, he's a white guy from South Africa. Like, they like, are probably, you could make the argument, more racist than Nazis are. Like, you could make the argument that white South Africans are more Nazi than Nazis. So
they just didn't kill all the Jews.
No, they killed all the black people.
Well, that's different.
That's different. Yeah, kill them. You can't kill somebody.
So it's okay.
You can't kill people because they have a religion. You can only kill them if they were born the wrong color.
Yeah.
And all of those white people in South Africa, all the white people in South Africa, all of them were clearly originated in South Africa.
Yeah, clearly. So talking about that, this is another like just little thing that they were talking about, which is hilarious. And one of the things that Joe was upset about, he's like, hey, I was told day one we are getting all the Epstein stuff. And they give us this dumb little thing that's all redacted, doesn't have anything new in it. Like, how much power do whoever is controlling all of that stuff? Because they cleared that island out. And they're talking, because they were saying the cell phone, to be able to ping a cell phone is so good they could show cell phones walking on paths on Epstein Island.
For sure.
Like walking on the path. So like there's all of this information and no one has seen anything. And there's someone sitting in jail for being she's in jail because she was like a sex person. But there's no one who's been hurt, and there's like a victimless crime, but that crime that she's in jail for isn't a victimless crime. Like there's it doesn't make any sense. Someone's rotting in jail for all this stuff, but yet there's no proof of anything that anyone has seen. But don't get me going on that because to me that's both sides as well. There's not everyone, but there's tons of people on both sides, all of music and whatever, and Hollywood and Bollywood and whatever, all around that were there, and yeah. But it was funny they brought that up too.
I'm so glad they brought that up.
That Trump promised him. Yeah.
There's a lot of people getting mad right now. I mean, the left, the far left, the medium left, you knew they were going to get mad, right? Like I'm mad they're threatening my teachers. Like, that makes me sad, right? They made a snitch site. I had teachers come to me today. I had teachers come yesterday. What do we do about the snitch site? I'm like, who cares? Like, they literally have no power over you.
Yeah.
That's not how teaching works. The federal government doesn't get to come tell me what my teachers get to do or not do. So all you people who are pissed about the Department of Ed and want it taken over, if you're one of those people, they literally have zero power over any of the stuff you are mad about. Literally zero.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's one thing that irritated me about Elon. He had made a tweet like, "Oh, if one judge can stop all this stuff, then this." I forget what he said. He said
it's
we're
like
living
tyranny
in
or something.
But the a lot of the executive orders, he doesn't have the power to do any of that stuff. That's Congress.
The money stuff. All of the money stuff.
The money stuff is all Congress.
Anytime they're like, we're stopping with this money.
Grade?
Yes. Right? And everybody should have learned that. And when they're like, Elon Musk found that we're wasting all of this money. Yes. Do you know when you stop that? This budget cycle, when they pass the budget, which they were literally in the process of doing. He doesn't have to fire everybody. He doesn't have to say everybody resign.
Some of that stuff they're doing is really
all he has to
dumb.
say is, hey, we found $1 billion messed up. Congress, when you pass your budget, take that $1 million. You notice what they haven't found yet? The millions and millions of dollars being wasted in our defense budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying earlier.
I mean, that's stuff that we know. We know they're doing that. They've been open and honest.
They brought that up. That was one of the things that he had talked about. He said it's so bad. Like, the Navy was supposed to get how much money for 3 new subs.
Mm-hmm. He's
like, now there's no subs, the money's gone, and the Navy has no idea what happened to the money. He said that's a problem. And I agree, that's a huge problem.
But what I'm saying is the opposite. What I'm saying is, in Ohio, northern Ohio, they build our tanks.
Mm-hmm.
The generals in the Pentagon have said, we don't need those tanks. It's a few $100,000 for every tank you build. It's $300 for every bullet they fire. We have thousands and thousands and thousands. We don't need any.
Yeah.
So they gave, in the defense budget, all the money to that company to keep building tanks to put in storage. Because that'll shut down the town.
Anyone who has a car knows it's best to just put it in the barn.
Yes.
And come back and get it 20 years later.
Well, they sold some to police forces, as if a police force needs tanks. But the reason why was simple. If you shut down that tank factory, that shuts down that community. The person in charge of appropriations is from that district. He loses his job.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like,
UBI.
We're not going to be shutting down that tank factory. We don't care whether you need them. We don't care if you don't. We're not shutting them down. And I find it super, super hard to believe that we put money down for 3 submarines and the money disappeared. That makes no sense at all. That's more somebody just giving BS talk.
Yeah.
Right? The number of things that would have to go through.
Yeah. I can believe stuff like that happens, but it goes back to I believe things are so bad, like you, something drastic needs to happen.
Oh yeah, like all of this, like when I'm sitting there watching. So this is, people will end the episode with a ball buster analogy. So I get told I have really fun analogies all the time, and you're not going to appreciate this one, right? It's going to hurt probably. But it is a good analogy, and it's making me happy and excited, and I know for a lot of you listeners it is not. And I know this is kind of what Kilted's referring to. When Trump is doing things like ball busting Ukraine, when he's making the European Union come in and do that, when he's turning Elon Musk to mess everything up. And some people love it and some people hate it. The reason why is because it's on fire. Right? It's on fire. And so you love your campfire until you don't. You love the fire in your fireplace until it's not in your fireplace. Right? And so what you have right now, and Kilted and I grew up with this, you got a whole bunch of teenagers out who have built a 50-foot tall bonfire that is freaking beautiful and amazing. And all the people around that bonfire are cheering and loving it. And they're like, yeah, look at this beautiful bonfire. Meanwhile, all the neighbors are calling and saying, you've got all these hoodlum kids out here building this big ass bonfire. You need to shut this bonfire down. They hate the bonfire. The people doing the bonfire love the bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here going, hopefully it catches all the woods on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hopefully it burns all of this down and it all returns to nature and grows and is all pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening. Like, yeah, a lot of this stuff is bad. If you touch fire, it hurts. It's bad. If it catches your home on fire, it's bad. It also warms you and is good. So some of you are going to love the fires that are being started in Europe. He didn't make it so World War III isn't going to happen by making Ukraine do this. He made the European Union defend themselves, which means there will be World War III. Because before, the only possible way there was going to be a World War III is if the U.S. joined the war.
Mm-hmm.
We're the only ones who have that kind of military to have World War III. So we weren't going to be in World War III. There wasn't going to be a World War III unless we said yes. We just said, hey, F you guys, we're out. And Europe is like, well, shit, we better get ready for World War III because it's going to have to be us running World War III.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, just helped cause it. And hopefully we stay safe in our little area and are like, you guys fight over there. Just like we did with World War and World War I and World War II, where we were like, nope, that's all you guys. You have fun until the fire spread.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we were like, okay, we'll burn it all down, which we did. So,
yep.
You know, that's
good analogy.
That's my thing. We're just watching the fires burn. Which is, you know, not bad. It'll clean things up. Fires always do.
Mm-hmm.
On that super sad, horrible note, as we have now talked way longer than we normally do, but it was so much fun.
Yes.
47 minutes. Like, it felt like it flew
nice.
by. Flew by.
It did. We were both in the zone.
We were in the zone. So it makes up for last week's grumpy week. So,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we love you. We'll try to have more shorter episodes. We've both got time now, and hopefully that'll make it so you don't have to listen to these huge, super long, boring 47-minute ones. But you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being with us, and this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kill the Dragon, Jerry. Love you all.